Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Art Matrix. And today we are in continuation of our four-part series on mental health. And once again, we have the phenomenal Lauren Bath with us, a successful business entrepreneur. And I would also like to add the title of life coach now. Her perspectives are amazing, and we are so delighted to have you with us, Lauren. I'm Komal Gupta. I'm the host for today. And let's dive in straight away, Lauren.
Let's do it. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you so much for coming. So, again, mindfulness. The first question is, what is mindfulness to you?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think everybody has their own interpretation of
Hmm.
mindfulness. And I had a very quick glance at the questions before we
Yeah.
met today, but I didn't want to prepare anything. I just love going off the cuff. And I think mindfulness for me is is almost another word for awareness, self-awareness,
Hmm.
presence. It's about knowing where you're at and coming at life from a place of integrity and alignment rather than autopilot. So mindfulness is slowing everything down, being in your body, knowing who you are, and
Hmm.
coming at everything from that very spacious place rather than when you're in chaos and automatic and dysregulated nervous systems and very emotional states, when everything just feels
Hmm.
really unsafe in your body and in your psyche and in your mind. That's the opposite
Hmm.
of mindfulness to me. That's when I sort of default back to survival settings, and I'm not speaking from my truth or my heart. I'm just surviving and getting through the day and getting back into my automatic patterns,
Hmm.
which are not necessarily good patterns or where I want to be.
Hmm. All right. So that's a very different kind of take on mindfulness. You talk about alignment and that spacious space that you have inside. So, and the survival feelings or tactics that you have. So, survival tactics, again, let's go into the negative before we delve into the positive. So, survival tactics in your personal life. So, what would they be? Even if
So
they're, yeah, right now, if you're going through that.
I'm thinking, how deep do I go with this? So
True.
through a lot of the work that I do, my personal work,
Hmm.
I've really come to recognize, and not just on an intellectual level, right? Like there's really two parts to personal development. There's when you learn about it intellectually and you understand the concepts, and it's when you live and embody this work. And that's been a huge part of what I've been doing for the last year in particular. It's like really allowing what I've learned about personal development to become truth for me in my body. So, we talk about the formative years in childhood, the years between the ages of 2 and 7, when everything that is said to us and everything that we experience lays down what some might call a program, or you could call it your stories or your core beliefs. But basically, we create meaning and interpretations of the world based on who we are as children and the environment that we're in. So,
Hmm.
survival state for me is when I get back into my subconscious self, which is for me quite anxious, quite dysregulated. I had a very rushed childhood. There was a lot of urgency. And the meaning that I created around this was all around there's not enough time, there's a lot to do, we've got to get moving. So when
Hmm.
I'm dysregulated, I'm not in alignment, I'm not in myself, and I'm in my survival, I'm not able to be present with myself or others. I'm not in my body, so I'm not listening to my intuition, but also what my body needs to avoid sickness and injury. And also just what is going to make me feel good and open. I'm unaware of my emotional state, so my emotions can get on top of me. Generally, my nervous system is dysregulated as well, and fight or flight was my old favorite. So, I'm physically impacted by these things, and the thoughts are feeding into the nervous system and the emotions, and it's all sort of looping together. And I'm now in a place where I can't really think straight. I'm not operating with, good cognitive function. I'm not, I might be having a conversation with you, but I'm not really
Hmm.
seeing you. I'm not really there. My thoughts are now who I am. There's no separation from them. So that's what a subconscious survival default automatic pattern can look like for me.
Hmm. All right. Yeah. So, what you said that also resonates with me. You are in a kind of survival mode, fight and flight kind of a thing, and that really wreaks havoc on your body. When you're young, you don't notice it. As you grow into more awareness, then you realize the impact it has in your body. So, it is kind of a earthquake kind tectonic shift that happens once you're in alignment. So, again, coming to alignment, the survival tactics, now alignment. What practices help you there? What is your go to for aligning yourself through the past and right now?
So I do have a variety of practices, and most of them are really designed to get me out of
Mhm.
my head and into my body. That's my goal every day. Like,
Sure.
how can I spend more time in my body? But to be honest, the foundation for this came from a program that I did that helped me to, I would say, like reset. It's almost like a reset.
Hmm.
Reset myself where I could get rid of as much drama and clear as much emotional charge out of myself, my psyche, my body, my spirit as
Hmm.
possible, so that I'm clearer on who I am in this world. And then the practices and how I show up and my behavior and action is therefore aligned with that higher version of myself. The program is something that was developed by an American guy, but it's been sort of, I don't know, I guess franchised. A lot of people have been
All
trained
right.
it. And I'm sure there's lots and lots of things that are very, very similar, but it's
Hmm.
effectively a chakra clearing program. So I know the
Okay.
chakras are, they originated in India, and it's all
Hmm.
about clearing the emotional charge of each of the chakras, and the
Hmm.
emotions that are generally associated with that energy center. So,
Hmm.
lots of different ways to clear your chakra centers. This is the one that I did. It's called the spiral. And after I've done the spiral, I've done that program 2 times. After
All
I've done
right.
the spiral, I would say that it feels like I'm just the clearest version of myself. So when I've just finished it, all the chakras are in balance, they're all open and flowing, and I'm feeling like really, really in my body. From there, when I make my choices, they're coming from
Hmm.
a place of knowing and being. So
Okay.
that's helped me. Like, I feel like for how unconscious I was and the trauma that I had and everything that I was carrying and how busy my life was, had I have not done that reset, I don't know if I would have gotten to the level that I'm at now. And for some
Hmm.
people, that happens by accident and by surprise, and it's called a mental breakdown. A lot of people
Oh.
get to the point where life is just untenable and something
Hmm.
has to change and something snaps or breaks in the psyche. And that's another
Hmm.
way to reset to get to this level where things are so bad that you just have
Hmm.
to let it go. So for me, I
Hmm.
consciously went into this program. I did the chakra clearing. I came out the other side. I felt really clean and clear, and I was able to make better choices. So from that place, I've picked up a lot of different practices that I now do use very regularly. Most of them are daily
Hmm.
practices. One is
Hmm.
yoga,
Uh-huh. True.
originated in
All
India.
right.
One
Mhm.
is breath work, also
Yeah.
originated here. And I
Fran.
have,
Yeah.
yeah, pranayama.
Yeah.
I have quite a few different breathwork practices that I use. I do a daily practice. I
Hmm.
also go to the beach every day and jump into the water, so every season. And that's like such a beautiful connection to nature because I'm
Hmm.
immersed. Every inch of my skin is immersed in nature with the seawater touching me. So that's a really, really good
Hmm.
embodiment practice. I spend a
Hmm.
fair bit of time grounding every day. So barefoot on the grass or on the sand, or sitting on the sand or sitting on the grass. And I
Hmm.
also do my journaling practice, which is my awareness journal, which I created. And it's not for sale
Hmm.
yet. I think I mentioned it on the last podcast. I'm still
Yes.
working on it, still plugging away. But that is another
All
practice
right.
that I use. And that one helps
Yeah.
me to bridge the
Hmm.
gap between like intellectually knowing where I'm at and
Hmm.
helping me recognize all of the different factors that are at play in my body and mind on any given day so that I
Hmm.
can, I guess, diagnose my state and what practices I need to come back into myself again. So those are the
Hmm.
main ones. And I'm pretty relieved with practice because
Hmm.
I know how I feel when I do them and I know how I feel when I don't do them. And I
Hmm.
choose to love myself, and I do that by choosing to feel good. And I do that through my practices.
That's very very interesting mix of practices and quite enlightening too. There's yoga, there's pranayam, like you said, prana. We call it pranayam. Yeah, and grounding, and you mentioned the sea, the beach, the water. So they say that water has a calming influence on us. So any practices you do while in the water, or it's just kind of a sensory experience for you there, kind of visual also and bodily also.
Well,
So,
I try to be present when I
hmm,
get into the water, and given that it's a daily practice, it's easy to just add it to the list of to-dos and not
yeah,
really think about it. It can become
true.
robotic. So
Hmm,
I try to take a moment to just get out of my mind and get more into my senses. What can I
hmm,
see? What can I smell? What can I feel? Let my head go back so that I can sort of immerse myself in the sea foam and yeah,
hmm,
I guess use my senses to or sort of anchor myself into the experience. I
hmm.
always make sure that I open my eyes underwater at least once so that I can
All
see
right.
what it's like.
Huh. Okay.
And I also, there's something, I also let myself surrender at least once. So I let myself float,
Right.
just go with the flow
Okay.
of emotion rather than fighting or resisting against it, because I think that teaches
Mm-hmm.
a lesson every day about how hard it is to work against the tides. Like when you
True.
try to swim against the ocean, the power of the
Hmm.
ocean, feel how
Yes.
difficult that is. Whereas if you
Hmm.
just lay your head back and let it float you in the direction that the current is going in, it's just such a
Hmm.
lovely reminder each day as to how easy
Hmm.
life and things can be.
Yes, true. Oh, I love this part where you said just letting go and let the ocean take over and let you just be there in that moment. I
Mm,
think in the end, that's what we want to, just let go and surrender ourselves and see where things take us. I think half the time we're just kind of fighting against the grain and adding more problems to ourselves. So that's a beautiful description of what you just said about the ocean and letting go and opening your eyes underwater. I
mm,
mean, that must be absolutely surreal, just looking at everything. Yeah, that's
mm.
lovely. Thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, I've not heard such a description before. And whenever I'm near the beach, I might just try that. That's on my bucket list now. I need to do
Good.
that. Yeah. All right. And now coming to that, all this lovely introduction to your practices and so where does this work into your professional life? I mean, it must have a very good effect on your work and your personal life. So on the professional level, how does it affect the relationships you have with people? This is working on yourself. Eventually, what we do is to interact with the world.
Mm.
That's where it's going to. So how does that work for you?
Professionally is an interesting one because
Hmm.
as you know, I stepped back from my professional life about 3 years ago. Well, coming up to the 3-year anniversary, when I
Mm-hmm.
really at the top of my game, very successful business, in a new startup. It was a 7-figure startup. We made $1 million in our first year of operation. Team
Mm-hmm.
of 12. I stepped away from all of that when I got pregnant with my second baby, and I haven't wholeheartedly gone back to work ever since, although I have
Okay.
dabbled in bits and pieces. I'm developing my journal
Mm-hmm.
practice. I'm appearing on podcasts. I've done a couple of little public speaking things. But my goal in not going back to work
Mm-hmm.
was to lay a foundation for myself of peace within myself and an inner knowing and intuition, that when I establish that and I start to add business back into the mix,
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that it will make me really unstoppable. Like, just able to work in ways that feel completely aligned and easy and surrendered, and just knowing what the right project is, not getting caught up in what I should be doing, but just knowing. So I took the time away, and motherhood was the gift that gave me the space to make that choice. And
Mm-hmm.
I have not squandered my time away from work. I've really intentionally and consciously used that time to build this foundation of peace and love for myself, that I
Mm-hmm.
know when the time is right and that creative urge builds enough for me to be back out there selling my thing, doing my thing, that it's just going to feel really different this time. So yeah, talk to me in a year maybe about that. But you
All
talked about
right.
working on yourself impacts the people around you, and absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, because when you work on yourself, you learn to love yourself. And when you love
True.
yourself, so much love for everybody. And no matter how dysfunctional somebody's behavior is, there's a reason
Mm-hmm.
for it. And you might not choose
True.
it for yourself, but you can still love them
Mm-hmm.
and see them and
Mm-hmm.
lovingly not take it personally, recognize that it's their own shit, actually.
True. And I love the way you said there's a certain knowing of what to do at a
Mm.
certain point, be it in business or in life. It's that knowing that I think we are searching for while all the self-care and self-love. And I agree with the self-love part. For me, it has been, why didn't I know about this earlier? There's so much to love inside myself. Where was I looking? Where was I going? And
Mm.
that's a lovely point of view that you shared is in a professional setting to know your purpose, I think, uh, and knowing the inner guidance and trusting it is most important if you really want to be successful. I think we are all kind of going towards that only. And also, again, motherhood, same thing, it impacts your children, it impacts your family life. And family is the core of society. So, what are your views on that? That, you know, wave-like reflection that you're working on, where does it go?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like I've noticed in my daily practices lately that there's anger in me. And
Hmm.
the anger is coming from a place of, we've depleted a lot of the savings that we had when I had the business. And
Hmm.
I'm still living a life very in line with my personal values, of which my three most important values are family, myself, and telling my story. So
Hmm.
I do three things every day. I spend a disproportionate amount of my time living in my
Hmm.
value. But in order to survive in the world that we live in and be aligned with our values, it costs money. And I've just always had this little pot of money to pull from. And now that pot is gone. And I'm like, well, I have to go back to work. And I don't want to go back to work because of money. I want to go back
Hmm.
to work because I deeply, deeply believe in a project and want to birth it to the world and believe it can really help people. And whilst I do have something I'm working on,
Hmm.
I don't want to rush it, and I don't want money to taint the purpose and the passion behind that project. So all of this
Hmm.
anger is coming up. And as the anger comes up, and I recognize how much money will impact me, how much it will impact our family. We'll be able to travel more. I'll be able to expose them to more things. I'll have more options with their schooling and their education if I want to homeschool or do a
Mm,
hybrid, move onto some property and start a community. Like these things cost money.
mm,
So in this society, the most important job that we have is to raise healthy families, because healthy children who don't have trauma will grow up and they will completely change the landscape that we're living in.
true.
So being present for your child, being able to meet their emotional needs and all of their needs, like we
Mm,
used to have whole communities of people, and I'm sure in parts of India you still do. I know in parts of Zimbabwe there is still a
true.
very community feel to raising families, but in
Mm,
Western society, you're lucky if you've got two parents and one of them goes to work full time.
mm,
That's the reality, or both parents work full time. I'm in a very unusual situation in that we live with my parents, and my husband and I are both flexible and work from home, and we're very much there for our children. And still, between
mm,
the four of us, we can't meet all of our children's needs because children have a
true.
lot of needs. So I'm
Mm,
feeling angry that we have to choose often where to put our energy, whether we put our energy and our time into making money or we put our energy and time into our children. And we need money to do the second bit, the kids bit, really well and
mm,
beautifully and in an aligned way. So, yeah, I guess I feel a little powerless and I feel very angry. I feel a lot of rage towards the society and the culture that we live in, where women in particular have to think about these things and make these choices when we are the ones doing the most important work of all, and that is raising emotionally
truly.
intelligent, to minimal trauma children that are going to inherit this world. So
Mm,
yeah, I'm trying to reconcile that at the moment. I'm trying to think about how I can be the change that I want to see in the world and take
mm,
away the sense of powerlessness, and how I can work to bring money in a way that takes the least amount of time and energy, so that I can continue to put that time and energy into myself and my family, who are much higher up the hierarchy of values that I have.
mm. Thank you for sharing that. That was deeply personal, and I think it's what you've stated is what goes on inside us all the time as women. That's what we are struggling with. We show up every day and try to make the best of it. And that was very eye-opening too, the way you articulated. Thank you so much for sharing that. And in the end, Lauren, a small quote from you, something that you think about or something that you reflect or mull over regarding mindfulness in your life. We would love to hear your some words or a quote from you.
Oh, I have so many. I set myself a different personal affirmation every day.
All
Um,
right.
the one that I have on my phone at the moment is be curious. I
Mm-hmm.
think curiosity is just such a beautiful state to be in, because even when
Mm-hmm.
there's emotion present, there's something uncomfortable, some feeling in your body, some negative thoughts, when you can meet all of that with curiosity, it takes the heaviness out of it. And it's like, oh, isn't this,
True.
oh, why am I
True.
thinking this? Or, so that's that's a recent one that's resonating.
Mm,
Pardon me. But I also had one recently that said, feel and honor your body. So
mm,
I try to set these little mini affirmations every day. Often I set them on my phone lock screen and I try to look at them, because, a huge part of mindfulness, in my opinion, is not the big practices that we do. It's not going down and having a morning routine and doing this and then that, or doing a yoga practice. Mindfulness actually happens in the micro moments. It happens when you catch yourself in autopilot and you choose to do some breath work in the car. You do a few rounds of box breathing. You notice that your nervous system is dysregulated and you choose to have a meal or take a nap or do something that's going to help you reset your nervous system. These
mm,
small choices that we go through every single day, this awareness of ourselves and what's going to activate us and what's going to calm us, and then choosing the kindest possible option. These are the things that actually create a different reality and a new level of mindfulness. So you can have all of the practices in the world, but still not be mindful. And, an interesting example, I guess, of that is that I used to practice yoga in my 20s. And
Hmm.
back then I was highly anxious, highly strung, very unconscious. And yoga to me was exercise. I would go into my yoga
Hmm.
class and I would push my body to its absolute limit. And if the
Hmm.
class wasn't hard enough, I would be, up in my thoughts about, oh, I wish it was harder. And I still didn't feel like I was doing enough. I didn't really get it at all. And these
Hmm.
days, to me, yoga is literally about how can I feel into my body so beautifully and so deeply in every pose, every asana, every breath. How can I stay with my breath even in the most uncomfortable or emotional of poses? And some days yoga is very humbling. I might have a head cold and I'm breathing through my mouth. I can't do my breath the way I want to. I don't feel strong. I don't feel flexible that day. There's something stored in a part of my body. I can't do the same thing I usually can. But to
Hmm.
still find so much deep love and gratitude for my body in those moments, like that is mindfulness. That is a mindful practice.
Hmm.
So we can do anything mindfully. I can go and wash the dishes now mindfully. I can eat my lunch
True.
mindfully. I can have this interview mindfully. Or I
Hmm.
can do these things unconsciously, unmindfully. And there's a big difference between the two and how you feel and how they impact your quality of life.
Wow, that was amazing. So, three things I could take away from your what you just told us is be curious, live in the moments, and micro moments. You said, yeah, micro moments, the small things, and practices do not matter. It's living in the moment. I think that's what I would like to take away from this interview today. Is finally, it boils down to being in the moment for yourself and your family, and in the end, society at large when you interact with other people. Thank you so much, Lauren. It was wonderful talking to you, and listening to your insight gives me a whole new perspective to sit and mull over and practice. Thank, thank you so much. Till the next time, everyone. Lauren, it was great having you. Till the next time. Bye, everyone. Bye,
You
Lauren.
know,